Hey guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about my 2026 goals, New Year's resolutions, vision board, the whole thing. If you guys follow me on Instagram or listen to my podcast or know me in person or anything about me, you know that I take my New Year's resolutions too seriously. For whatever reason, I'm just super motivated during this time of year. And everyone says New Year's resolutions are BS. Like, why wait for a specific time to do something or make a decision or make a change in your life? And everyone's like, New Year's resolutions suck because they give you permission to wait until January to start something new. That's not really the kind of person I am. Like, respectfully, if that's you, that's like a reflection of you. I use it as a boost of energy and motivation. Like, I do make changes throughout the year, but I feel extra motivated in January, so I set new goals. Do you have a problem with that? If so, you can speak to my attorney. Take it easy. Anyway, normally at the end of a year, I do kind of an audit, like where's my life at right now? And it's not really formal. In the past, I have done something more formal where okay, that's God smiting me for being sassy. Anyway, in years past, I have done a more formal audit where I will literally sit down and write down, okay, what's the state of my life? That's a little crazy for me because usually it just results in me writing down everything I think is wrong with my life instead of reflecting on what I'm grateful for or a realistic state of things. And it's just because I come from a self-improvement mindset. And so I'm like, what needs fixing? What can be better? What can get fixed? Or what are gaps I need to fill or where are areas I can identify for progress? And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't think it's super productive for me because it kind of puts me in a blender and I'm like, oh, wow, I suck. My life sucks and I'm behind on everything and I'm never going to be successful. No one's ever going to love me. Okay, girl, take it easy. So that's why I stopped doing that. And now I'm more so just focused on the goal setting part of it. And if you listen to the podcast, you know that my first ever episode of the podcast was actually about New Year's resolutions. And so I went through all this science-backed, evidence-based protocol for creating goals, like deciding what they'll be, how many they'll be, for example, setting goals, and then science-backed ways to achieve them. So there are things like you should write them down, you should talk to other people about them. There's all this data about how those things make it more likely that you're going to achieve your goals. There are some methods that are explored, like Jay Shetty has a method called 4-3-4-7, where you break down your entire year into 4 quarters. Each quarter has 3 months. Each month has 4 weeks, and each week has 7 days. And that's how you go from okay, I have a whole year to tackle this goal, which almost feels like too much freedom. Do you know what I mean? Most people work best with a little bit of structure, not just total creative freedom, because there are no boundaries within which you can navigate. So most people work better within some kind of framework with room for creativity in the framework. So the 4-3-4-7 method, I think Jay Shetty might have invented it. I think it's really good because it basically can take you from one giant goal for the year to weekly, daily to-do list. So I talk about all that kind of stuff in the episode. Today, I'm not going to talk about that because I am following some of it, but I think everything is variable, right? Those are science-backed and evidence-based. So there's research to support them, but everyone's a little bit different. And while I do think a lot of those specific strategies and techniques have been really helpful for me, I'm just doing it in a slightly different way this year. Not everything I chose to do is scientifically recommended, but I got big goals and I got a lot of them, so I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing. So I'm gonna go through my list of goals, which is kind of embarrassing if I'm being honest, because they're highly specific. And I think one of the reasons that a lot of us are embarrassed to share our specific goals out loud, for example, people get so embarrassed when you accidentally see their vision board or something. Do you know what I mean? Or people are really vague when they talk about their goals to you because they're afraid if they say out loud, oh, I want this specific thing, that person's then going to go remember what they wanted and judge them based on whether they achieve that metric. First of all, not a single person cares about your goals the way you do. No one on the entire earth. Even people who have your best interests at heart do not have space in their brain for your shit on that level. So we gotta remember to zoom out sometimes and understand that we are not the highest power in the world. And we're also not the center of attention for every other person in the world. we're the main character in our own story, but like same for everyone else. So like no one cares about you as much as you is the first thing. And the second thing is a huge pillar of manifestation is sharing your goals. So like getting really specific about them, visualizing them, like repeating things in your head that rewire your neural pathways to make it easier to have those same thoughts. And then also sharing those goals, thoughts, ideas with other people so that not only are you doing the work to like manifest this dream life of yours, but then you kind of like part of the sharing part at least is like you're putting other people on alert to look out for opportunities for you. It's like I'm literally combining so many things right now. First thing is I want to go backwards a second and double click on the thing I said about neural pathways. There is so much scientific evidence that says your brain cannot distinguish between something that you vividly imagine and something that happened to you in real life, which means that if you think like that a worst case scenario, if you think about it over and over in your head and you vividly imagine a worst case scenario playing out, your brain goes into fight or flight because your brain is like, oh my God, this is happening to me right now, even if you literally made it up in your head. However, that is literally the same case for if you think of the best case scenario. And so if you're thinking of the best case scenario, your brain is like wired to be in a positive mindset, a calm, confident mindset, a mindset of abundance. So that's the first thing. The second thing about this is that when you practice repeated thoughts, you are teaching your brain to go down certain pathways. That's what when I say neural pathway, like that's kind of what I'm talking about. And if you are a person who spirals and overthinks, which is I am, you are teaching your brain like, here's the order of events. Like I have this thought and then it leads this thought, this thought, this thought, and then conclusion. And when you're in a spiral, usually the cascade of thoughts just gets worse and worse and worse. And then the conclusion is something terrible. So then next time your brain is like, oh, I know the way, it's this. And then you land at the crazy, scary conclusion again. And over, you're just more likely to spiral again and worse in the future. So we want to be training our neural pathways to have positive thoughts that lead to positive conclusions, right? And so all of that is like a big part of the like neuroscience and cognitive thinking part of this. And then when I talk about like sharing your goals with other people, part of the reason I say this is because manifestation is not just like saying something and like believing it's going to work out and then it just like does. It's not magic. It is literally a combination of thoughts, beliefs, and actions that result in a successful outcome, or what people would call like your manifestation coming true. For me, one of the best ways to understand this is the red car theory, which is sort of like a law of attraction manifestation thing. When you go out in the world, you're not always looking around like, whoa, look at all those red cars. Like it doesn't seem like most cars are red, right? But if I went to you and I said, hey, go out today and count how many red cars you see, and then come back to me later, tell me how many red cars you saw. Suddenly you'd be like, whoa, there are so many red cars. This is insane. Look at all the red cars. And you come back to me later, you're like, there were like 45 red cars today. Right. Those red cars were there the whole time. You just weren't looking out for them. You weren't noticing them and identifying them and engaging with them until I asked you to. So the same is true of opportunities. There are opportunities around you all the time. You're just not looking out for them and you're not thinking, hey, I should keep an eye out for these things, identify them and engage with them today. Did that just blow your mind open? Me too, the first time I heard it. Now, part of like for me, the red car theory and the way it like combines to act with the whole like sharing your specific goals with other people is part of red car theory to me is like not just identifying opportunities for yourself, but like when I tell my mom I have a goal or an idea or like something that I want to do more, she then will go out and see an opportunity and be like, that's so good for Sam. I'll send that to her. So I said to my mom, like, oh, I want to do an episode on like this or that for the podcast. Then for the next week, she's sending me Instagram clips or TikToks that she sees about that topic. And all of them have like brilliant guests, really interesting points, things to dive deep on. And it's like, okay, now I have like so much more of a structure for this episode that was just like a baby idea. And it's all because my mom was on the lookout for opportunities and ideas on my behalf because I shared with her that idea in the first place. And this is like with everybody. I have a lot of just people in my professional network who know I have this podcast. And just by nature of sharing with them, like, hey, I have a health podcast or wellness podcast. Like, if you ever have any opportunities come up where you have a really cool person in your network or a person that you're a fan of and you think they should come on the podcast, just let me know. Sometimes they like know a person in real life who would be an amazing fit for the podcast. And then I have a sick guest on the podcast. Guess why? Because I told them that that's what I needed and wanted in my life. So for me, a big part of the sharing is that. And then also, of course, there is like another level of accountability that you hold yourself to when other people know about your goals. Like, I'm going to try way harder at something that 200 people know I'm trying to do than like something I kept a secret where suddenly I have like all this permission and flex room to like not really go that hard on it because like no one knows if I'm going to fail or if I'm going to win, right? And this is kind of like funny because it goes opposite the thing I said before about like no one's thinking about you as much as you and like no one literally even remembers your goals, let alone like thinks about them that much. But I think it's more just like a personal thing where it's like I feel more inspired and ambitious and what is the word I'm looking for? Like I just feel more accountable just because I shared with someone. Not because they're holding me accountable, but because like I know they shared. And how great would it be for me to go and tell that person 6 months from now, wow, hey, I don't know if you remember this. Like I said, I really wanted this thing and guess what? I got it. Let's celebrate. Cool. Anyway, that was just like that whole thought process that I just spat at you is all discussed in much greater detail on my podcast. I will go to episode number 1, which is the New Year's resolutions episode that I was talking about that has like all these actionable strategies for setting the right kinds of New Year's resolution, setting the kind that actually succeed. And then also strategies for like keeping them, like achieving the goals. Then I would go ahead and listen to episode number 56, which is my neuroscience behind the law of attraction episode. It's all about like the actual psychology, the actual neuroscience that goes into the law of attraction. Like it's not just woo necessarily. Like, yes, the concept is new thought. It's not really science backed, but there are elements of psychology and neuroscience that play into it and that you can use in order to make the law of attraction actually work for you. So episode number 1 and episode number 56, highly recommend you go listen to those one after another, actually. And it just goes way deeper in detail and also has like serious science information about everything I just said. That said, today's video, I'm going to share with you my goals for all the reasons I just said. And I'm also going to show you kind of like my process for why I want to. Now my camera literally overheating in the middle of that sentence. Okay, girl. It's a new camera, so that could be a problem. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to tell you why I picked all of these goals, what they are, which is like part of my accountability process, and also how I am tackling them, which is pretty new. We're only at the end of January, so things could change. And also like, I'm still kind of feeling out what works for me. And then I'm also going to show you my vision. Actually, I'll show you my vision board maybe like right after I tell you the goals and like talk you through it. Because I will say I did use these, like I wrote the goals first and then I used that to make my vision board. Anyway, let's talk about this. Okay, so my first goal / resolution is to gas the podcast. I have talked about this before, but I felt like in 2025, which was my first year of having the podcast, I gave it like 70% effort. And by that, I mean, I worked really hard to make it like meet a quality standard in terms of what kind of information I was bringing to the table, what kind of guests, what kind of production quality, but I didn't like really put my back into it. And I think the reason for that is because I kind of subconsciously didn't fully believe that I could like do it at the scale and the level I wanted to. And so I was like, well, let's just not like expend all my energy and resources on this. Let's give it like enough of a push that it seems like I'm really giving it my all. And then from there, we'll see how it goes. And if it's received well, then I'll give it 100%. Now, for 70%, we really ate with that because we topped at number 42 on the Apple podcast charts. We had some amazing guests. We had some really cool episodes. We had some viral clips. I heard from some girls who, like 3 or 4 girls, I'm not even kidding you, who said they literally quit vaping because they listened to my episode with Quit with Jones about how vaping is literally worse than cigarettes at this point. And all the stuff that is fucked up about vaping and what it can do to you and your like reproductive health and like your respiratory health and your heart health and your brain health, like everything. And I had some girls stop drinking. They didn't disclose whether it was for like substance abuse reasons or for just health reasons, but a lot of girls who tried to do the Sober Curious thing, and a couple of girls who literally just stopped drinking, full stop. And those are the reasons that I do this podcast. And that's the reason, like, that's kind of my why. That's like what keeps me going and what keeps me making this, because like, honestly, yeah, would it be great to make a bunch of money from this? Sure. Right now, it only needs to make enough money for it to be like worth the time. Do you know what I mean? But outside of that, the real value and the real reward for me is like people like living their biggest and best lives, people living longer, people living healthier because of the show. Anyway, all that said, I do feel like I really accomplished my goal of like seeing if it was a thing that had legs. And the answer is yes. It definitely has legs. And I have had a couple times now, girls stop, including literally yesterday, girls stop me on the street to say, hey, by the way, I love your podcast. And both times I cried. It's fine. I didn't cry in front of them. I didn't want to make them uncomfortable. But then later I was like recounting the story to my boyfriend or to my parents or whoever, and burst into tears because that's so crazy to me that people listen and like want to tell me, like they like it enough to tell me that they like it. So New Year's resolution number 1 is gas the podcast. Now I'm going to kind of, I don't know if you can sort of see, but there's like the goal and then there are the like mini goals underneath it. Sorry, I keep looking at my screen because I'm worried the camera's going to overheat again, but I guess we'll just like see. Anyway, there are sort of sub goals underneath that I think if I accomplish those goals, that would be me gassing the podcast. So the first one is I want to have at least 35 guests on the podcast in 2026. 2025, I had 20 guests, and I was just like really more focused on quality than quantity. And now I think I've set kind of a threshold for like the type of guest that I think is right for the show. And so they need to meet certain criteria in order to join me on the show. But now I feel like, okay, I know the kind of person I want. I can pitch more. And I feel like those conversations bring a lot to the table because I don't have the credentials to be speaking on all these topics by myself. So I want a minimum of 35 guests. Now my sub goal for that, see where I'm going with this, is that I need to pitch at least 5 guests per week. Because they're not going to hear back immediately or at all even from every guest. And they're not all going to be yeses. Like some of these people are pretty famous and like pretty busy, right? Like they can't always do that. So I'm pitching a minimum of 5 guests per week. Some other things on the list of like sub goals for how I'm going to guest the podcast were like, I'm going to put up a website where I can sell the merch because our hats are so cute. And also just like start an email newsletter within the website so that I can like send out important information. For example, like when we're throwing events to like let people who are actually fans of the show know, like you don't always see an Instagram story. It goes on 24 hours. I would be able to send you an email that stays in your inbox until you wake up in the morning saying like, hey, by the way, next week we're doing a workout at Rumble, like come through. So that was one. I need to be more consistent on the social media platforms. I do everything for the podcast myself. Every single thing. I research everything. I write every episode. I interview the guests. I pick the guests and like not negotiate, but like schedule them. I book the studio. I do the recording. I do all the editing. Then I cut the social clips and marketing materials, and then I actually post. So like I'm tired, right? But it doesn't matter. Like nothing waits for you if you're tired. Like the world keeps turning. So I just need to do more consistency there. And then there are 2 more goals that I think are worth touching on too. One is that this past first year of the podcast, 2025, Dear Media reached out to me like without me reaching out first. And I was absolutely floored. I think Dear Media would be a really good network for Caps Lock because I know like there's definitely people out there who think it's cheeky. I'm not really one of them, but a lot of my friends' podcasts are on Dear Media, and I've talked to them. Do you like them? Like, do you like how they work? And like, do you feel like it has been a really big benefit for your show? All of them have said yes. And also, I think the type of audience that Dear Media has cultivated is completely aligned with my type of audience. Like, it's mostly women. It's mostly women between the ages of like mine is kind of 21 to like 40, but we also have a subset of followers that's like 40 to 60, which is amazing. long story short, I just think a lot of what they do is amazing. And I've seen what they have done for other podcasters. And I also feel like I could really bring something to the table for them. So when they reached out to me, I was like completely blown away and almost in like disbelief that they like cold reached out to me and like found my contact information and were like, hey, we really like what you're doing. And I'm not going to like tell you too many details because I don't know if I like should out them like that. Like this is their process. But essentially they kind of were like, here are some key metrics that we look at when we're bringing a show into our network. And they have like different levels at which you can kind of work with them. And long story short, it was like early enough on in the podcast that my podcast didn't quite meet those thresholds yet. And I said that to them. I was kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't have those exact numbers right now, but I'm really like working on this thing. And I think we could get those numbers. And I'd love some advice. Like if you have, you know, either a level at which we could work together without hitting those numbers yet, or like working toward those numbers, or if you have like advice for like what I should do to hit those numbers. Now, I also obviously have been doing a lot of thinking on my end, like what can I do to get those numbers? But basically after that, like I didn't pursue it that hard because I was like, well, I don't meet that threshold. So I'm not going to like push for this. I'm not going to like be persistent. I'm not going to follow up with them 100 times. And the last, like the email thread kind of like dwindled down as I was like, okay, I'm going to like get to work on this. And I'm kind of like, that was so stupid. And that is a complete symptom of my imposter syndrome and not fully believing in myself. So on my list this year is to reconnect with Dear Media and like have conversations with them. And there were a couple other networks this year that reached out about possibly acquiring the podcast or like doing some kind of like bringing me into their network. So I might shop it around. I really like Dear Media. There are also a couple other networks that I'm super interested in. So this is definitely going to be a year where I start exploring that. And step one of that process is going to be to reach back out to my contact at Dear Media and just be like, hey, listen, I'd love to revisit this and like talk more. So that's huge for me. And saying that out loud and being so specific about that is important to me because I need to hold myself accountable to that goal. Now, the other thing is I want to start working at least a month ahead of schedule on the podcast. And by that, I mean, a lot of times I'm like recording an episode on anytime between like a Monday through Thursday and then editing it like literally on Friday or Saturday for it to go live on Sunday morning at 8 a.m., which sucks because that means I'm working every single weekend and it means I'm working nights and it means I'm stressing myself out. And it's just because the podcast is not the job that pays the bills. Like my other jobs and my other work pay the bills. So I like kind of prioritize those jobs because I'm like, well, I got to make mortgage this month. You know what I mean? But then I'm leaving the podcast stuff until the last minute, which means I work every fucking day and I'm exhausted and stressed out. And if there's ever an issue with the podcast, I'm having a fire drill on a Saturday night to fix it in time for 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Not cool, not good for my cortisol, not good for my mental health, and also not good for the podcast because I know I can do better quality content if I work ahead. So I'm going to start working a month ahead, and that's a commitment I'm making to myself. It's a little bit hard because I'll get to a place where I'm a month ahead and then I'll like go away out of town for like a week or something. And then that's a whole week that I can't record in the studio. Do you know what I mean? So I really need to like be on top of that on a consistent basis. Like I need to think about it every day. Like, do I have enough episodes in the can? Do I have enough bookings scheduled at the studio in order for me to like go away for a week and not worry that I'm not going to have an episode? So that is kind of like a breakdown of how I'm structuring the goals, right? I have the goal and then I have the sub goal and then I have like sort of to-do list items within the sub goal. And like, that is just like the kind of structure. Now, I'm not going to tell you every like single sub goal that I have for every single thing because this video would be 800 years long, but I will tell you the overarching goals. So my second big goal is I want to finish decorating my apartment. If you have been following along, you know I've been renovating it. I added air conditioning and I completely gut renovated the kitchen. These were investments I knew I was going to make when I bought the apartment. Like I planned that before I signed the contract. And those renovations are done now. Between the down payment, which I put 65 or maybe even a little bit more % down on my apartment. So that was a huge cash deduct. Like I paid a lot of cash out of my bank account for that. Then I paid a lot out of my bank account for the renovations because you kind of like pay as you go. It's not really like, oh, pay within 30 days. It's like pay right fucking now or we won't come beat your kitchen up. So a lot of money. And now I'm kind of in a place where we're really close to the finish line. The remaining items are radiator covers for my radiators and the ugly AC machines, curtains for both the bedroom and the living room. We got a built-in bookcase custom made. They have to install it. They have to stain the wood first and then they have to install it. And then it's just, and then light fixtures. So one in the bedroom and two in the foyer hallway situation. And then the very last thing is like actually doing a little bit of like decorating. Like we have some art on the walls, like that kind of stuff. But I am like, I need some lamps, some end tables, like just like little stuff like that. So that's a huge goal of mine to finish in 2026, which I'm hoping to finish in by the end of Q2 with all that, like have enough money to do it comfortably and like get it completely finished so it finally feels like home after like 2 years of living here. My third one is like an overarching like health and fitness goal. I want to achieve what's called a D curve. Basically, Equinox is my gym and they have this machine called the InBody where you get on it and you hold it and you're barefoot and it does like a scan and it basically tells you your total body weight, your skeletal muscle mass, and your body fat. And right now I have an I curve, which is basically straight. Like they're all in the same percentile. But what I want is a higher muscle mass percentage in the middle, which would give it a D shape. Now, a lot of people actually have a C shape where their muscle mass is way down and their body fat and body weight are up. I have an I, which is like a great starting point because like my body fat is in like a healthy zone and my muscle mass is in a healthy zone and my body weight's in a healthy zone, but I want my muscle mass to be on the high end of the healthy zone, get me a D curve. So that's like the overarching fitness goal there. And you guys know that because you've been following me on social and you know I'm like doing a little like muscle building, bulking, body recomp journey. And like within health and fitness goals, I also like, it's like do my cardio after every lift and like don't skip cardio. It's, I have like a scalp thing, which is like my health goal, not fitness, obviously, but I have like scalp eczema at the base of my hairline here. And I've literally had it for years now and I just haven't fucking dealt with it. And I hate myself for that. Now, I've actually seen 2 separate doctors for it. So it's not like I haven't done anything, but they kind of either gave me steroids or told me like, that sucks, like try a different shampoo. And I was like, okay, is that it? I really needed a doctor who would like see this through to solution with me and not like a steroid, which is to me a band-aid for a bullet hole. Like I want to do root cause identification and like fix the root problem. Like, am I fucking allergic to gluten? Like, let's find that out. Why are we just sitting here? And I had this woman on the podcast named Vanessa Rossetto. She's a dietitian. And she was like, wait, girl, I have a friend who's like an amazing dermatologist who will literally take a scalp biopsy and like test a piece of skin from the affected area on your scalp and like tell you what the problem is so you can fix it. And I was like, how come I've been to 2 doctors and no one has even told me that existed? That's messed up. So those are some of the health fitness goals. I obviously have some money goals that I like don't need to go into detail on, but like there are kind of 2 major ones, which is like earn a certain threshold minimum per month. And then the other one is to change my mindset about money, which like right now I have a pretty serious scarcity mindset around money. Like I'm always worried about money. I feel like I don't have enough money. I feel like I'm never going to have enough money. I'm always thinking like, oh, I need to do this for my children. I am always stressed about it. And that's counterproductive. Like I want an abundance mindset, a belief in myself that like I can do it. Everything's going to work out. It's going to be great. And so changing the mindset is important to me, like honestly, for my mental health, if nothing else. And then I have some social media goals. I want 10K YouTube subscribers. Oh my God, that's embarrassing to say because I have none right now, but that would be great. And I'm like gonna really put effort into how I make these videos. I don't know that this like looks so good, but I'm gonna try to put effort into like the value I can provide during these videos, whether that's like entertainment value, like a random vlog, or value, like I think this video is something that I would like to watch. So that kind of value. And then I want 100K on TikTok, which I have just under 30K right now. So I think it's possible, but I just have to grind if I'm being honest. And then one of my other social media goals is to do Vlogmas this year because I like to watch Vlogmas with like 1 or 2 of my favorite creators. And I just think that'd be really fun to do. And like really, I think I'd be proud of myself if I was able to like exercise my discipline to do that much creative work during that time period. So anyway, those are the majority of like my goals. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I'm kind of sticking to them and then also show you my vision board. In terms of how I'm tackling this list, it's a lot of goals. And something that I found out while I was researching my New Year's resolution episode is that if you have too many goals all running at the same time, it's really hard to accomplish them just because your attention is so divided. And it's obviously really hard to accomplish like 9 goals on top of just your everyday obligations. I mean, especially if you like have kids or even have like pets or have like a family member you're caretaking for, or even you just have like a stressful day-to-day job. It's just really demanding to ask you to set a bunch of personal goals on top of all that. Hey pops in New York. I have the window open now so that it like in the hopes that my camera doesn't overheat. Anyway, obviously because of that information and me having, let me just recount how many goals. It's like 6 goals. Oh, one of them I forgot to mention is that I want to get my golf handicap down, but like we don't need to talk that much about that. That is basically just I need to get better at golf, which like the action items for that are like practicing and taking lessons. So like we're just going to do that. But basically having these 6 overarching goals and then having sub goals within some of them, for example, like number 6 is more of a category than it is like one single goal, because in there I have do like social media as the category, and then I have like do Vlogmas, 100K TikTok followers, and 10K YouTube subscribers. Like that's 3 goals, girly pop. And I know that. And so the way that I'm attacking the list of goals is actually highly specific. Every day on Sunday night or Monday morning, just depending on like what my weekend looks like, or like whenever I have a free moment, I create a to-do list for my week that is comprised entirely of actions I can take to get me one step closer to my goals. For example, I said I want to have a minimum of 35 guests on the podcast in 2026. So on my to-do list for week 1 of 2026 was pitch 10 guests, right? And so that's an action that I can take today to get me closer to that goal of having at least 35 amazing guests on the pod. Reconnect with Dear Media, like that's probably on my list for a couple weeks from now, because I have a couple really cool guests coming on the show and I want their episodes to be out before I reach back out, obviously, to put my best foot forward. But when that week comes around and I need to put something on my to-do list, it'll be like email contacted Dear Media. And like that is something that I can do in one day. I mean, really in like 30 minutes if I want to put like a beautiful email together to get me one step closer to that goal. So there are definitely things like finish the apartment. One of my things is like work with my interior designers to set an installation date for the bookcase, or ask my interior designers to look at end table options and send me a deck with options. Like those kinds of things are the things I put on my to-do list. And so essentially it just adds major to-do lists on top of my already insanely long to-do list. But I have come to realize that like some of these things are as important to me as like the job things on my to-do list. Does that make sense? Like I have the kind of career where I'm very lucky that like I can make some choices like that. Like I don't really work for someone else. I work for me. And so in a sense, like I have control over what my minute to minute day looks like. And so sometimes, yeah, getting to the gym is going to be more important to me than like shooting something for social media, because like my mental health and my physical health, but really my mental health seriously suffers if I don't get to the gym. And so like, I know I'm very lucky to be able to make those decisions, but I do think that like, for me, my goals to-do list is like so freaking long. Like my to-do list for my first week was like 15 items and I probably got like 10 of them done. But like for someone who's doing this and you have a 9 to 5 or something where you really like, you need to be prioritizing your work schedule above, you know, your life goals and like life to-do list, which I guess there's actually like a longer and larger conversation to be had there anyway about like how fucked up our society is that we like have to sit down and prioritize a 9 to 5 over our like genuine life goals. But whatever, that's a later problem. Anyway, so I'm just very lucky that like I can get a lot of my to-do list items done throughout the week because I have a choice about prioritization. That said, my protocol is like make the to-do list with like a bunch of things that I believe I'm able to get done this week that will get me a step closer to whatever goals. And then whatever does not get accomplished goes to that is like the whole to-do list for the next week. I don't even add anything, because the problem is when your to-do list is 20 items long, you tackle like the most important ones first. And then you're kind of making a to-do list within a to-do list. You're like, okay, my to-do list is 20 items long, but I really need to get these 3 done. So like, let's make a list of these 3 and knock those out. Then you still have 17 items on your list. And like, if you just keep adding, those things can keep getting knocked down the priority list. And so my goal with like this to-do list kind of technique is like when things don't get done from week 1, that is the entire list week 2, just those items. And like obviously my job stuff will start to like take priority over some things, but like the goals to-do list is entirely made at that point of leftover goals from the week before or to-dos. Sorry, everything's a goal. So I'm getting real confused talking about it. Let's talk about my vision board. I'm going to put it up here so that you guys can actually see it. I'm going to have to move over just so that I'm like real centered on it here. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you can see it, but I'm going to look at it on my phone while we talk so that I know exactly what I'm talking about and I'm able to kind of describe this to you. And this is how I make a vision board that I think is actually successful in helping me with visualization. I think the number one mistake that people make when they're making a vision board is they just like make something that's aesthetic that they can make their phone background and it's like a collage, it's giving Pinterest board. And that's pretty to look at, but it is getting you absolutely nowhere. Like you have like some vague picture of like some random boyfriend man who like is a stranger, right? And then you have like pictures of money. Maybe you have a picture of a baby, or maybe you have a picture of a car, or maybe you have a picture of like, you know, just like random stuff. And then there's like aesthetic stuff, right? Like angel numbers, which I am guilty of putting angel numbers on mine, but like that's my angel numbers. So anyway, I just think like one of the biggest mistakes people make is putting random, beautiful images in their vision board and nothing specific. And I actually think like a hybrid works because obviously there's going to be some like space and you want it to look pretty. So like if there's leftover space in the collage, you want to like put something cute in there, sure. But in my experience and also in like the evidence of a lot of like manifestation researchers like work, it really only works to visualize if you're visualizing something highly specific. And so the way I did this is like, I did a podcast setup. That is like my dream podcast setup up there on the top left of the image. Right now I record at a studio that doesn't belong to me, so I like rent it. But I just love this studio, and someday I really want a home podcast studio. So I went out of my way to find a home podcast studio image that I really liked, that I felt would be a really good like goal visualization type image where it's not just like a random podcast studio. It is a beautiful one. But I want to keep recording, and you'll notice that image has 2 mics because one of my goals is having a lot of guests. Now, another podcast thing is all of these people's faces you see, these are not like random people. Obviously, you know who probably some of them are, but not all of them. We'll go in order. The first one, that guy's name is Dan Buettner. He is the guy who discovered blue zones. And I reference his work in a lot of my episodes of Caps Lock. And he's actually one of the reasons I started the podcast. I was just blown away by his episode of On Purpose with Jay Shetty. The first episode he did was, I think, in literally like 2020, it might have been 2019, but I think it was like 2023 or something. And it was him and Ben Liedel on Jay Shetty's podcast, and it was a great conversation. And then he came on for a solo episode with Jay Shetty, where it's just him. And that conversation they had blew me away. I sent that episode to probably 50 people, and it got me so interested in his work because essentially what he did was he was like a journalist, and he was on this mission to discover the places on planet Earth where people live the longest and figure out what they like, what their lifestyles and diets and like relationships and everything were like that they were living so long. So for example, like one of the blue zones is Icaria or whatever. I think that's how you pronounce it. Sardinia is one. There's one in Costa Rica. There's one in California. I think Singapore is one, or like a part of Singapore is one. And a couple of the things he discovered, like one is that they have like infrastructure for building core relationships with other people, or they have like infrastructure for meaningful community. Another one is a lot of the people in these blue zones do a lot of micro movements throughout the day, whether that's a job where they stand on their feet all day or something where they're just constantly moving, working with your hands, for example, which is so much healthier than a sedentary lifestyle. Stuff like that. I remember specifically from that episode, he was talking about Singapore and how in Singapore, the sidewalks are actually like super wide because so many people walk to work and walk around instead of driving a car to get places. And like that was one of the things where he was like, we can implement blue zone lifestyle changes in the United States. We just need the government's help to do things like that. And so there are like things like, you know, maybe we raise the prices of ultra processed foods and lower the prices of fresh produce, which like right now it's flipped where produce is expensive and ultra processed food is cheap. And that's like so messed up because it makes people opt for ultra processed food, especially people who literally cannot afford groceries. Like they're going for the cheapest thing possible, not prioritizing their health, and they should have the opportunity to prioritize their health. Anyway, I just think he's brilliant, and I followed his work very closely since I heard that episode years ago, and I just want him on the podcast, and so that's his face on my vision board. You see what I mean? I won't go into as much detail about every single person and like every single thing on here, but that is just an example of like how micro granular specific I'm going with this. The woman to his right, her name is Dr. Tara Swart. She's a neuroscientist with expertise in visualization and manifestation. I'm dying to have her on the pod. The Law of Attraction episode that I did for my podcast that I recommended to you guys, I think I said it's episode number 56. I reference her work in that episode, and I just think she would bring so much color and so much research and experience to that conversation, and I would just like dream to have her on the podcast this year. The woman under her is Mel Robbins. I don't have to tell you who that is, hopefully. And then the woman all the way to the left, her name is Roxy Nafusi. She's a manifestation expert. She wrote the book Manifest, which is like a hybrid workbook/book. So you can read her personal story and her experience with manifestation and like her guidelines and tips and techniques for using manifestation. But it's also a workbook where she has prompts and like spaces for you to write about your goals. And she has two books. One is called Manifest and one is called Manifest Dive Deeper. And I used both of them to launch my podcast. So I really want her to come on the show. And then you see Dear Media is right there. Then to the right of that, you have a clip of Dr. Jonathan Leary, who is the founder of Remedy Place. And I had him on the podcast and I used some of his social clips to like promote the podcast. And this one went viral. You can see it did on Instagram 4.1 million views. It also did like over 2 million on TikTok. Obviously not all of our clips pop off like that, but putting that there was just like, for me, that was an amazing guest, amazing episode, and an amazing result on social media. And that result drove a lot of like engagement, and it led new people to discover the podcast. And so that is like the kind of thing I want to manifest happening for me in 2026 more. And then up top is a really high peak that we actually, that represents a peak that we had on the podcast this year in terms of listenership. And I just remember like the feeling that I got when I saw how big that number was when we topped at 42 on the charts on Apple Podcast as like a literal brand new podcast. It was our 4th episode ever that brought us to that peak. And that was just like so mind-boggling to me. And I was so grateful for that. And I just want to manifest more of that energy and result in 2026. If you go down to the kind of row beneath all the people's faces, on the left there, you'll see an inspo pic that I pulled from Pinterest. I used that inspo to kind of like design my living room / kitchen area in my apartment here. It's over there. I'm going to do an apartment tour so you'll like see it. But that's the sort of vibe I want to bring to my apartment. But also like you'll see there's decor there. There's like stuff on the dresser that's placed there, not in like a junky knick-knacky way, but in a way that's like intentional, but really brings life and character and personality to the space. And I just loved that energy, and I loved like what that means to me. Like I hate a minimalist apartment. I hate gray and beige and white. I want like color and personality and meaning and sentiment and like exciting textures and colors and patterns. Like that's what makes this place feel like home to me and feels like a creative, unblocked flow space for me. So that pic is on there because one of the goals, as you know, is finishing the apartment. To the right is that cute little party pic. I've been dying to have a party like that. This is so highly specific and random, but it just like makes me feel this warm glow inside of like nostalgia sort of. And I've been yearning lately for like a less techie, less disconnected life. And this type of party to me just like feels like childhood. And I love that it's like girly and colorful and playful and fun. And it evokes this sense of like, we're going back to like retro parties, plastic cups or paper plates, you know, like that kind of thing, like cone hats, like birthday hats on your head. And I've done a lot of different things over the years for my birthday, but this past year I did nothing, thinking that like, Oh, I'm usually stressed and emotional on my birthday. Like when I have a big plan or party, Gemini things, it's fine. So I thought I would swing the pendulum the other way and do literally nothing. And it was depressing, if I'm being honest. I did not like that. And it's what I wanted. So like no one really fought me on it because they were like, all right, if that's really what you want. And then I hated it. But I hated it after the fact. It wasn't like I wished someone like did something for me. It was just like that was a bad call by me. So this year I'm throwing myself a birthday party, and that's the vibes. Um, this girl that is like not me. I don't know who this girl is. I found her on Pinterest, but I'm obsessed with her muscles. Like to me, her body is beautiful, but more importantly than that, it's strong. And that is my goal for my fitness right now is like, I just want to build muscle. I want visible muscle. I want to feel strong. I want to feel capable. And if I'm being honest, fitness has not been something I've been amazing at being consistent with these first few weeks of January. Part of that is because my Equinox membership always at the end of my agreement with them, which is like 6 months at a time, it gets messed up and I have to wait literally like a whole, it's usually like freaking 10 days or something before the agreement starts up again because we renegotiate or something, but it always ends up being the same deal. It's not like we're changing the terms. So the 10 days in between drive me crazy because I have no gym. Like I have no, and if I'm being real, the classes are too expensive right now. They're like $45 to take classes in boutique studios in New York. Like berries being $45 makes me sick to my stomach. I on principle, I'm not paying that. So like it's either that or do like day passes. And even at Crunch Fitness and stuff like that, the day passes are like $30. Like I'm not paying $30 a day. I'm not paying $300 for 10 days to go to Crunch Fitness. So like this is just a really hard time for me. And the one thing about it is that's maybe good is that it lights a freaking fire under my butt to get to the gym when this 10 days is over. Like literally Feb 1, my membership starts again. I'm going to be there 100 times a day for the rest of my life after that. But anyway, I just love this picture because to me, this girl looks very strong. And that is like the first thing I notice about her is that she looks strong and powerful. And like, that is what I want out of fitness in 2026. This picture of hair might seem random and aesthetic, but it's not. I told you about my scalp problem. That is really important to me to solve. I'm also having like kind of a hairline problem where I feel like my hairline is literally receding and I have these bald spots on the front of my hairline. I was a ballerina growing up and I've just been slicking and pulling my hair back my whole life. This is not as tight as it seems right now. There's no product in it or anything. It's just real dirty. But pulling it back straight back into my ponytail is what does that. And so I've been using growth serum. I've been using a combo of Grande Hair and Revitalash actually on this little spot. And I want my hair to be like thicker and healthier. And I think the scalp issue and like the hairline problem are contributing factors to my hair being thin right now, which I'm not used to. It's new for me. And I'm just trying to fight that. And so getting my long, bouncy, thick hair back is a priority right now. Now I said no pictures of money, but I still have money. So like, what do you put there? The $837,000 is crazy. I will not elaborate on why that number is there, but it is for a reason. So I swear. But I'm always going to put a picture of money because like you got to be earning. But I decided to supplement it with this money magnet thing because I was telling you earlier, like I want to change my mindset around money. I'm no longer in a place where I want to have a scarcity mindset and worry about, oh, I got to hustle here. I got to make this money. I don't want to spend it here, but I do want to spend it there. I want to just believe and trust in myself that I'm making good judgment calls and I am earning money and maximizing my earning potential and making the right decisions about investing and saving. It's why I bought an apartment instead of renting one. It's why I have a wealth manager who invests money for me strategically. It's why I fired my old accountant who totally screwed me over and cost me a lot in tax penalties. And now I'm getting a new accountant so that I can take complete control of my finances. And it's like a priority for me with these different professionals who I'm working with that they teach me and explain to me what's going on as we're going so that I'm not flying blind and then later finding out like, oh, sorry, something got messed up and now you're paying 20 grand in penalties. What do you mean? And like, I should have been more on top of that. That's on me. And so I'm accepting things like that and understanding that the learning experience for me moving forward is like, I need to understand what's going on so that I'm not powerless. I do have the power and the capacity and the intelligence to understand what's going on. And I make good judgment calls. I trust myself on that. So as soon as I understand and learn what's going on, I'm able to make informed decisions about my money. And like, I'm not letting someone else handle that entirely for me without my input anymore. So it's about changing the mindset. My angel numbers, literally me after making fun of money and angel numbers on vision boards. Okay, girl. But like I said, there's always filler space and like whatever. There's a picture of a book under my 777. I want to read more serious books this year. 2025 was the first year I got into like serious books instead of chick lit, and I learned new words. My ideas were challenged. My like long held beliefs and values and concepts that I like have of society were challenged, and I learned things, and I felt like it made me grow as a person. And so it's just really important to me to keep doing that and keep pushing. And there are some books I've read that are really hard to get through, if I'm being honest, not because they're not good, but because they're difficult, like literally challenging to read. And words are my shit. Like I studied journalism. I was always an English girl, really good writer and really good reader. So like if it's hard for me, like it's actually a hard book. It's not just I'm an idiot. And so I encourage this all the time, and maybe I'll make a video about it sometime. I'm always encouraging people to read more serious / legit books over chick lit, just because I have never learned anything new from chick lit. And it's fun, like no shade. I still will read chick lit sometimes in between my books, but I just find that I get more value out of a more serious book. So I'm really loving the classics right now. And I'm even reading some like sort of sci-fi, post-apocalyptic type books, but ones that are written by like kind of serious authors that are less for like entertainment value and more for like sending a message and like challenging a belief system. So I'm going to do maybe a video on that sometime, because I have some really good book recommendations, and like I want to talk about my transition from reading chick lit to reading more serious books, because I feel like that could help people get into it. Anyway, that's why that book is there. On the right, you'll see an engagement ring. Love her. I want to get engaged this year. I'm not even like ashamed to say that. I was like nervous to say that, but like I'm in love. My partner and I are in love. I'm just going to call him William. You guys know who he is. Like that's crazy to me. But both of us want to get engaged this year. Like that's both of our plan for 2026. And we're really happy, and we want to like make it official. So slay. And I love this type of ring. I love like a super rounded cushion vibe. I love a solitaire. I think I want the band to be platinum, not gold. And whisper thin can be a little sketchy, because like those are not super secure, especially with gold, because gold is so soft. I don't know why I'm doing all this right now. I just like the ring, and I want to get engaged this year. And so that's on the vision board. Okay, girl. And then this bottom row here is all social media stuff. You'll see the vlogging camera on the right, all the way to like TikTok notifications on the left. You'll see the 100K and the YouTube plaque. The YouTube plaque is a little bit inconsistent with me being like highly specific, because I choose to set realistic goals that I really believe I can achieve, or at least really make a dent in. And for me, 100,000 YouTube subscribers is like not that, but my goal is actually to get 10K YouTube subscribers. And I feel like I bring value here sometimes, and then sometimes I feel like there are places where I could do better. Like I think this is a fun, chatty video that also brings value. And then I think my vlogs are just like comfort creator vibes, and that's fine. But one thing that I really would appreciate if you guys, like one way that you could help me achieve my goals for free, which is mutually beneficial, is by telling me what kinds of videos you want to see from me. You can shoot that in a DM if you're like, you want to be private about it, or you can literally comment it here or anywhere. But if you tell me what you want to see, I'll make it. And then you get the win of seeing what you want to see, and I get the win of like, I'm working toward my goal. So love that for us. And then the last one is to get 100K on TikTok. And I think I said I just have like under 30K right now, but for me, it's all, and I think for everybody actually, it is really a game of like trying all different formats of videos and seeing what your followers engage with and what people like, what resonates with people. And two is just posting a lot. Like you just got to post a lot. I did a sort of experiment this past summer where I posted on TikTok between 1 and 6 times every single day for 6 weeks. It was exhausting. It was a lot, even though most of the videos were just like little silly things. But during that time, I gained 9,000 followers in those 6 weeks. And most of those followers came from like 2 or 3 viral videos, right? But like if I didn't post every single one of those videos, I would not have gotten those 9,000 followers. So that was an interesting experiment. And if I continue to do that kind of work and like I'm continuing to like do something with the goal ultimately of like building community and being myself and being vulnerable and being honest, then I know that there are people who that'll resonate with because there are like-minded people who are searching for community on there. That's just the vibe. Anyway, that is kind of all of it right now. Oh my God, I have one more thing to freaking show you. I can't believe I almost forgot this. Stay there. This is so crazy, but I gotta be real. It's maybe my favorite thing. You guys already know this is crazy. This is the big ass calendar. Okay, I have to find a way now to like get back on the couch with this. I don't want to like move the whole camera setup right now, but this is the big ass calendar. It shows you every single day of the year on one big ass piece of paper. And it's not a regular paper. You'll see it's shiny, so it's like dry erase. And it comes with a dry erase marker and these little individual stickers that you can put on individual days. And you can block off like trips you're going on or like goals you set and put like markers for, okay, by this date, I want to hit this goal. By this date, I want to hit this goal. It is an amazing tool. And I made a video about it on social media I think on Instagram and TikTok. And I said, like, there are a million ways you can use this. Like, you can just use this as a calendar. I also think this would be good for just goals, right? Like, forget your trips and shit, but like, be like, okay, by this date, I want to do this. So that means on this date, I have to accomplish this. Like, for example, my Dear Media thing. Like, if I want to have a relationship with Dear Media, like some specific goal I'm achieving with them by August 1, then I had to send that email by probably like February 1 so that I can start doing the things I need to get there. Do you know what I mean? That was like not really a good example, but that's the vibe. And I'm using mine as a combo. I'm putting some trips on here, like my travel on here, and also my goals, and then also like some important people in my life's birthdays, just so that I remember. But I just love this thing. It was the company, Big Ass Calendar, was founded by a guy named Jesse Itzler. I talk about him actually in the New Year's resolution episode of my podcast, episode literal number 1. So if you do go listen to that, you'll hear more about him. But he's basically a very like well-known entrepreneur. And he is all about this concept called misogi, which is this like Japanese concept of having one year defining goal every year. And so it's a goal or a challenge that you have to like prepare for and work for. It's not just like, oh, I want like this random thing to happen to me. It's like, I want to run a marathon. And so you have to like train and you have to have structure in your life to make that possible. So he's really into that concept. And the Big Ass Calendar kind of came out of that concept because it allows you to plan so far ahead. So it's actually designed for keeping goals, which I think is really cool. But I also think this would be awesome. I said this in my social video. If you were a bride for the year you're getting married, to keep track of like vendor deadlines, important dates like your bridal shower or your engagement party or like your bachelorette, like stuff like that. I just feel like it would be so good. Like, okay, I need to have my last dress fitting here. So I need to have my first dress fitting here. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. I just think it's so cool. And I'm really obsessed with mine. I haven't filled it out all the way yet. It's like pretty empty still. But a lot of my summer travel and fall travel actually comes up throughout the year. So I leave a lot of things unplanned, like travel specifically unplanned for the second half of the year. So you'll see I have a bunch of travel in Jan, Feb, March, April, May, even June. And then the second half of the year is a lot lighter. I only have like 1 or 2 trips. No, I have 1 big trip confirmed. And then the rest I like kind of leave because things will pop up over the next few months that I have to put on there. But I am starting to put my goals and deadlines for the goals on there, which I'm doing a little bit more of that this week. So I will show you guys maybe the Big Ass Calendar when I'm finished with it. But anyway, that is it. I can't believe I almost forgot to show you that. I mean, it's literally the most fun, crazy part of this. Anyway, those are my goals for 2026. And that's kind of how I am structuring it this year. I've never done it like this before where I have so many goals and like have such strong infrastructure for achieving them. But I am excited about it because these are all goals that are so important to me. I mean, some of them are career, some of them are personal, some of them are health. And I just like cannot live my life focused around like my job. Do you know what I mean? Like my hours between 9 and 5. And so it's really important to me to have personal goals outside of work goals. And I find it fun. I find it challenging. I feel like I experience personal growth when I'm working toward these goals. So overall, this is like what gets me up in the morning. This kind of stuff is so exciting and empowering to me. And I'm really proud of myself for even like being so honest about these goals and for sharing them online, which I would have been really embarrassed to do even probably a year ago. So I'm going to keep you guys posted on these. If you have any questions, like as a follow up to this, let me know and I'll answer them in a later video. But this is just kind of like what I've been working on a little bit more since I got back from my little Florida trip last week that I vlogged for you guys. And what do I have coming up? Let's see what I have coming up that we can do together because I think we have a lot of fun. Where the heck's my phone? Here it is. I think we have a lot of stuff that I'm going to film for you guys. I'll definitely do some videos more like this where I just like sit and talk to you. And some of them will be like all kinds of stuff, like a lot of requests for workouts that I like. So when my gym membership is back, that's the first thing on my list. A lot of requests for my makeup, my self-tanning routine, stuff like that, how I do my hair. And then some requests for things like I'm definitely going to do a video about my reading journey, stuff like that. But let's just look at my calendar and see if I have any fun vloggies coming up. Because I usually do. Okay, yes. So Feb 6th, I am going to my house in Florida with William. And the two of us will be there until the literal 15th. So we'll be there a long time. That's the longest I've ever been there. I'm so excited. It's not just a vacation. We're going to go there and like work from home. But we thought this time of year, it could be really good to get out of the tiny apartment into a bigger space and with a lot of sunlight and warmth. And just like the ability to go outside and like have lunch by the pool or like pop to the beach after work and like go to fun dinners, like just have like sort of a little different energy for a couple weeks. So we're going there just for like, it's not even a couple weeks. It's freaking 10 days. Not even, but it's the longest I've ever been there. So I'm really excited. And then the last weekend that we're there, so it'll be like the night of the 11th, really late, all the way to the 15th. So like a sort of long weekend for Valentine's Day, basically the whole second half of the trip. Lauren and Marissa, my two best friends from childhood, who you may recognize if you follow me on social, and Lauren's husband and Marissa's fiance are all coming. And it'll be the boys' first time at the Florida house, which is so fun. Lauren and Marissa have been there a bunch. And we're going to do a triple date Valentine's Day weekend. So I'm obviously going to vlog all that for you because that's going to be so fun. I don't know what else is going on. There's a lot of stuff. But I'm going to keep you posted. Top of mind right now in terms of videos are like the reading journey, workouts, and like what I eat in a day. And I'll keep you posted on all of these goals. And I don't know, I feel like the outro to this was just like so chaotic because I had so many things that I was like, okay, let me just like update you on what's coming. And now I'm confused. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give me a like, comment, subscribe. And I really appreciate you guys watching. My goal for YouTube is to be consistent and to build a community on here where I feel like I can be more vulnerable, be more long-winded, which is really more my personality. And we can kind of get to know each other better on a deeper level. And I really miss doing this kind of long-form content. So I'm really excited to see what it like pulls out creatively over the next couple months. And I really hope you stick around. I'm going to go make my sausage and peppers and pasta for me and William, who is on his way home with the sausage. My bad. Forgot that. And I hope you have a great night. Bye.